in Oklahoma. Hey, Lauren, so you were calling us to actually talk about your anniversary, right? How long you been married?
11 years on Friday.
Okay,
so
congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be married a third of my life.
Good for you. So you're 33.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you got married at 22. Do you feel like that was a good time to get married, a good age to get married?
No, I wouldn't recommend it. But technically, on paper, like when you sign I almost said birth certificate, the marriage certificate, and it has your age.
Yeah.
And I had to sign it as 21 because it was 2 days before my 22nd birthday. So my husband always thinks that he just has to give me one gift. And I'm like, no, like you have to come up with two.
Got it.
Yeah, birthday and anniversary. Yeah.
So what is your question about being married, or what advice are you looking for or going to give?
So I guess, isn't Lunchbox at like 8 years now? So he's kind of up there. Maybe is it 7?
Eddie is actually 8.
18. I just celebrated 18
Eddie
last
just
week.
celebrated 18 years.
Guys.
That's crazy.
Wow.
She asked a question about me. Let's not make it about 8. Yeah, I'm at 8
years,
years.
though.
She was asking who was the most.
No, she said, what is Lunchbox at? She didn't say anything about Eddie.
Lauren.
So the question is, for Eddie and Amy, just because how long they have or had been married.
No, Amy's
I know,
divorced.
let her talk.
Just let her go. Just let her go.
Let her talk.
Go ahead.
Boss.
What year for y'all was the hardest? Like they say the first year's the hardest, or the 7-year itch, or like 10 years. So
That's
this
a
can
tough
kind
question.
of,
That's really hard.
I know Bobby doesn't really take to what the norms are, so it may not affect you, but it can maybe help other people to be like, hey, you can still get through the 7-year itch, or you can still get through that 10-year hump. Or
Let me ask this in a healthier way instead of what year was the hardest.
Sounds like she's having a rough year this year.
Well, it sounds like she's just at 11. Yeah, and she's like, okay, I don't want it to go in a bad way, or I don't want it to just be like we're going through the motions. So what can we do? So then the question I'm going to ask, because I feel like what she wants to know is, what is something you have to overcome because you get into your patterns so much, you stop paying attention to some of the romantic priorities? Like what can she do to reprioritize herself and her marriage? Okay? I think that's a good question. The other way, we're all going to get murdered.
We're all going to get in trouble.
Yes. So, Amy, what is your answer to this?
So our marriage timeline is a little different because Ben was in the Air Force and was gone half the year, all the time. And then some of ours was circumstantial. I think after he got out of the military, quite honestly, that was a huge shift for our family and his identity. And I mean, he would even speak to this, but I also didn't know how to support that. I didn't recognize certain things that were happening. And then, so that ours is if there's a situation that happens such as that, I don't know if you could put a year on that. That could have happened to us at year 3, or it could have happened to us at year 15. But for us, I think it happened around year 6 or 6, yeah.
So what did you learn from that, though, that she can hear from you and possibly inject it into her life?
Okay, when one of you, and around that same exact time is close to when my mom was diagnosed with cancer and she died, and we made a move. So you've got big life events that happen, change of job, a move, a death in the family, something like that. Knowing how to best support each other and check in and see how you can show up for them and they can show up for you. We did not do a good job at that at all whatsoever.
Eddie?
Yeah.
18 years, by the way. 18 years. 18 years. The guy's been married for 18 years.
I'm starting to think, like
Lunchbox would make out with your marriage right now.
Because it's 18 years
It's 18.
old. It's legal.
Moves
No,
the
depends.
task.
No, depends if it's graduated. It just turned 18, so it's still got a year to
still
go.
senior?
Oh, what, so
Yeah.
after... No, he graduated... Maybe they graduated early.
This is so weird.
Go ahead.
So in my marriage, we had like a bunch of, certain things that happened that kind of caused turmoil. So there would be like, you get married, you deal with in-laws. That was a problem. After that, you have kids. That's a problem. You buy a house. Oh my gosh, how do we decorate the house? That becomes a problem. Started a lot of disagreements in there. I think the key, and I know everyone says this, but it's communication. If you communicate it, get ahead of it and say, look, this is bothering me. What do we do about it? And then talk
sometimes
about it.
I want to communicate because I want to get in a fight.
Yeah, but you have to talk about it.
I know. I'm supposed to do.
As long as you
I need to go to the
understand.
doctor and get my BH checked too, but I don't. I'm a human.
I'm telling you, it helps things.
I
when you
know.
talk
I know
about
you're
it.
right.
So
But
it's easier in the long run or it's easier in the moment to avoid it, but in the long run,
Absolutely.
you're doing yourself a disservice.
But that's then why we should all be exercising X amount of hours in. Because I mean, I'm just saying it's much
No, I
easier
know.
to
We
should.
say.
We
yeah.
should.
You have to be the buffalo.
Just saying, when all those things happen, because it's not one thing. It's not the 7-year itch. It's a lot of things that happen.
Got it.
That cause problems in your marriage.
So you would tell her,
Just talk about it. Talk about it. Let your husband, your spouse know how you feel about it. Then figure it out.
Lunchbox.
Don't take anything so serious. Like you guys, I mean, that's the problem. People start taking things so serious. Like when you're dating and stuff, you're just having fun and, you get married and all of a sudden, oh no, you start getting mad about little things. Like, why not go back to the dating when you were having fun and like the little stuff didn't bother you? Quit getting so tied up and everything being so serious. Just have fun. Who cares?
What would you tell her about? It's 11 years. She's again starting to maybe be bored. I'm
Okay,
I'm
I got
making
an
this
idea.
up.
Here, leave a card at home with a hotel key in it and say, hey, I'm here. Come see me. Boom.
Okay, and that could be a part
Spice
of
it up.
Have
That
you
could be a
done
part
that?
of it. Who?
Lunchbox.
He's not going to pay for a room.
No, I'm not paying for a hotel room.
Unless he gets from like our
You read
promo
it,
team
You
here.
read it in a book? Like,
Yeah, come on now.
Where did this idea come from?
What would you do?
You're asking me what I would do?
Yeah, to avoid, we'll call it the 11-year itch.
Okay, so I think that I think it's just being involved in each other's lives and knowing. Like codependent behavior is huge in relationships. Oftentimes, that's something we dealt with a lot. I can only speak to my own experience, and there's just a lot of unhealthy patterns that we didn't address early on, and then they morphed into a much bigger problem.
My advice is don't get married till you're 39. or
But she's
40.
already married.
Hey, I'm just telling you. I'm just doing I'm going to speak my own experience.
Yeah.
You know,
out of the 2 years, Bones, which one, though, is the worst?
the first.
Why?
Not if you're deployed half the year.
True. It's I mean, for me, it was the hardest because I never lived with anybody.
Adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Probably because you'd gone 39, 40 years.
Yeah, it was probably
without-
the hardest for her because here I am. Like, I am who I am,
Yeah.
good or bad. And so it's mostly just like figuring out the dance of all cohabitation. And for me, trust. She's with it like a damaged deer. And so she's constantly raising a damaged deer in a big part of my life.
You're the deer.
Yeah. Yeah, like relationship wise, I don't have that. I don't have understanding on a lot of the intimacy, not even like Lunchbox is talking about, but just intimacy between humans. I struggle with that because of how I grew up. So she's nurturing a damaged deer back. So I think her answer would be the first year is probably the hardest. Mine has both been awesome. She's pretty.
It's a great year.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not experts, but I'm curious
I'm
if
expert.
any of this was
I'm a
helpful.
doctor.
Well, like back to what Lunchbox is saying, though, real quick. Like he said, just have fun. Don't take so serious. Like, why do we take everything so
Yes.
serious when we get married?
But sometimes
It's-
things get
Because things
serious.
get serious, like kids and bills and life.
You can't just
And
joke about that?
death and
You
moves
can
and
joke,
jobs.
but the joking ain't gonna make it better. I think it's a personality thing more than
Yeah.
anything. But yes, Lauren, how you feel about that?
I want to say for the record, I'm not deboarding the marriage. I didn't want it to come across that way. We actually renewed our vows last year in the Bahamas. So I was just trying to see if there was anything to what they say about the first year is the hardest, 7th year is the hardest, the 15th year is the hardest, the 10th years, if there's any correlation there to...
Oh,
No, I think
What's
that
in
those
there?
numbers are just a sign.
yeah. They
There's a lot
they
of
also
years
have
are
the
different.
5-year fizzle. Like it's,
What?
They just find a word that alliteration.
Have your fizzle.
The 2-year tumble.
The
Yes.
6th year sucks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Like there's
Lauren,
a lot.
congratulations. Eddie, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
And Lauren, we got to get her a gift card to Sonic. She's been on hold there. So thank you. Wait, can we play a song or no?
Nope.
Okay, well, there we go.
It's about